Welcome back. AES Corporation is one company looking to meet the insatiable thirst for electricity in pretty much every major continent on the planet. For a look at how the company is responding, we're joined now by Andrés Gluski. He is Chief Executive Officer of AES Corporation. That company's based out of Arlington, Virginia, but he joins us this morning from New York. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Some people say that we are in an electricity crisis right now. Would you characterize it that way? Tell us how supply and demand are matching up around the world.
Sure. Well, good morning, and thank you very much for having me. I think when we talk about electricity demand, we really have to talk on a regional basis. So, for example, in the United States, the issues are different than the issues we face, for example, in Southeast Asia or in Europe. So I would say electricity demand, for example, is growing quickly in Latin America. It's growing very quickly in Southeast Asia. In some places, we may be facing electricity shortages. In the United States, the situation is different. You basically have demand growing at about 1%. But what you have is a big move out of coal and into natural gas and renewables. So the situation is different, but I would not characterize it as a crisis.
What do you're active in many, many countries around the world, and your company in many of those markets has been the first private source of electricity generation. How has that affected those markets, the participation of your company, a private sector company, in traditionally public markets?
Sure. Well, AES is a Fortune 200 company. We have about $17 billion of revenues, and we're in 21 countries. And AES was, in the United States, one of the first and the largest independent power producer following the opening up of the sector. And we have participated in privatizations around the world. So the situation has changed in that today, pretty much around the world, most of the big privatizations have been done, and you have markets being established. It's really an issue of the degree of government regulation in these different markets.
You've been on the job for 3 years, Andrés, and so far it seems like it's going pretty well. You've been improving the profitability of the company, streamlining operations. You're ahead of schedule in terms of asset sales for the targets you laid out. What should investors look for the future from AES?
Sure. Yeah, well, for AES, I would say that, we have, first we streamlined the company. We were in 30 countries. We've gotten out of 8 countries. We've received about $2 billion of asset sales, from our asset sales. And what have we done with the money? We've bought back about 8% of our stock. We've paid down 20% of the corporate debt, and we've also invested in new projects. So what we're going to be is in less countries, but we're going to be bigger in those countries. Today we have more megawatts under construction than ever in AES's 31-year history. Even though we're in less countries. So what you can expect from us is a company that's really taking advantage of these wonderful platforms we have in some very good markets, such as Chile, Mexico, the U.S., and some very fast-growing ones in Southeast Asia, like Vietnam and the Philippines.
25% of the power that AES generates is derived from renewable sources. Those would include solar, wind, and others. How much growth do you see in that segment of your business, renewables?
Sure. Well, we also include hydros in it. Hydro is a very important component. We are building some run-of-the-river hydros in Chile. We have some very big hydros in Argentina and also in Colombia and Brazil. Now, when it comes to renewables, our approach is really to provide the country and the market with the energy that they're demanding. So we do a combination of whether it be thermal, hydro, wind, solar, whatever really makes sense for that particular market. Now, we do see renewables in terms of like solar and wind growing quite rapidly. I think in the States you're seeing that there's a lot of new megawatts coming online of solar. So we'll continue to do this, really think in terms of a portfolio, because we can do any type of energy other than nuclear. So this really allows us to really design the right product for each market.
You recently made have emphasized a $1 billion investment in Mexico. How important is the Mexican market?
We're very bullish on the Mexican market. They're opening up the energy sector. I think Mexico, as part of NAFTA, is going to be a big winner from the low cost of shale gas in the U.S. as pipelines are built. And a lot of, let's say, industrialization is happening in Mexico. I mean, the supply chain today, really from Mexico, U.S., and Canada is one. And so I think a lot of the sort of talk about reindustrialization in North America, some of it will occur in Mexico. And so we were very well positioned to build additional power plants in Mexico to satisfy that growing demand.
Thank you very much. That was interesting, an interesting conversation to have with you today. Have a good day, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
That was Andrés Gluski. He's Chief Executive Officer of AES. He joined us from New York, where he's attending the Barclays Energy Conference.